Right, so we're going to build something a little bit more involved now. So we're going to build a snowman. Okay, so this is my one. I haven't 100% finished it yet. I probably had some buttons and some arms and things like that. But this is the sort of thing we're going to be building. You can see we've got a bit of colour this time. Now, I'm just going to make a new file just to do this. So general, don't save, and we've got our block there. So if you remember, we make sure we select it, press X, and then delete, and then we just make sure we've got the render version just top right hand corner there, so we can get the shadows and so on. Okay, and what we're going to do first is we're going to import two spheres in order to make the body and the head. Okay, so I'm going to import one just there. I'm going to add and then another one here. Okay. Now, although we can't see two, we do have two. They're just on top of each other. So you've probably figured out we're going to move the sphere upwards. I'm going to click on the Move tool. I'm going to use the Z axis to move it up. And you can see there, that's the other sphere. All right. So we've got the body and the head. Okay. Obviously, the head is a bit too big. So what we're going to do is we are going to scale it a bit smaller. So remember, make sure it's selected, and then we use the S, okay, and then we can make it bigger and smaller. Okay, now just to kind of show you here, if you've got your mouse quite close to the center of the thing you want to scale, you press S, okay, it can become a bit more difficult to control the size. All right, so the trick here, put your mouse outside of the object. So you see where my mouse is here, and then press S, and that will give you a bit more control over the size of it. Okay, so I'm going to make my head probably about there. I'm just going to zoom in with the mouse wheel, and I'm going to hold down the middle button on the mouse wheel just to kind of zoom around and just check. Yeah, that kind of looks all right, I think. That looks good. All right, so now we've got that. Next step for us is to make our nose. Okay, so we're going to import and a cone. Okay, there we go. You can see there the cone is again quite large at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up first, and I'm going to scale it, I think, next. So I'm going to put my mouse outside, make it a bit smaller. Okay, I'm going to move it again because I want it outside of the snowman. And I just want to move my view so I kind of get almost like a side-on view. There we go. I'm just going to scale it a touch more. Okay, that looks all right. And this time we want to rotate it, okay, because it's obviously facing the wrong way. So if you press R, you can then rotate. And the same principle applies with the controlling it. Okay, so if you've got your mouse too close to it, it's a bit more difficult to control the rotation. Okay, so what I tend to do is mouse out here, press R for rotate, and that gives you a little bit more control over the rotation. Okay, so I'm going to put it probably about there. And then we just need to then move it into place. So we're going to have to use different views to do this. I'm going to use the Z axis to put it down. I'm going to move around. Okay, so it's slightly off center of the head there, so I'm going to move it that way a bit. It's looking good. And I'm just going to put it back into the head a little bit, okay, with the red. So we've got kind of nose poking out, hopefully. Let's have a look at it. Yeah, that's looking good. There we go. Okay, great. All right, so next step here, I'm just going to use the pan tool. I'm just going to pan so I'm getting the head more in the center of the screen. And we're going to make a hat. So I'm going to add a cylinder. Okay, and again, you can see the cylinder is really big. That's much too big for his hat. So I'm going to move this up to start with. And zoom out a little bit. I'm going to press S again to scale. Okay, so we're going to get a scale. So it's probably about right there. Maybe you want to make the hat a little bit kind of flatter, not quite as long. So I'm going to use the scale tool on the left-hand side this time, and then we've got the axes to then kind of squish it a little bit like that. So that looks good. And then I'm going to go back to my move tool. Just move it down into its head a little bit, around about there. I'm just going to orbit around. Yeah, that's looking okay. That's all attached nicely. And I'm going to make a rim for the hat now. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to add another cylinder. Okay, I'm just going to kind of this time go straight onto the scale tool, and I'm going to scale it with the z-axis so it's kind of flat pretty much. Okay, so a little bit tricky here. It's not quite going right. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. If it doesn't go right, just undo it. And just to make my life easier, I'm going to move it along this axis so it's out the way of the snowman because it's a bit easier to do. And we'll just scale this so it's kind of flat. There we go, it's looking a bit better. I'm just doing this in kind of two bits here. Alright, good. So now I can then move it back to where I want it. And we want it kind of using a green arrow there. Yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's just more orbit around. It's kind of making his head in a lot of shadow there. Can you see it's slightly? It's probably alright. So I probably want it a bit smaller because it's a very big rim. So again, pressing the S key, the scale, I'm just going to scale it in a touch like that. There we go. Great. Okay. There we go. It's looking good, I think. Alright. So next stage is we're going to make his eyes. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in here, and we are going to import or add another sphere. Okay, there it is. You can see it's quite big at the moment. And again, a bit like we did with the hat, I'm just going to move it to one side so it's not in the way of the body because it can get a bit difficult to do them. I'm going to scale the S key again, and I'm going to move it so it's kind of about an eye size. That'll do, a bit like a golf ball. And I'm going to drag it so it's positioned roughly where I want it. So see where it's going into the head. It's just orbit around there. We want it to come out. So you can see how important it is using these view tools to position the camera in the correct place. So it just helps you get your objects in the right place. There we go. Good. Let's move that down a little bit. And I think I'm actually going to make it a bit smaller still. So scale a little bit smaller. That's better. Okay, cool. Now we've got an eye there. What we want to do is we now want to colour these eyes. Okay, so if you select the eye, let's use the selection tool so it's selected, and then on the right hand side you're looking for that object, so material properties. So if you click on that, and then where it says new, just click on the little plus button. Okay, and it'll open up this tab here. Where it says material 001, just rename that, and I'm going to call it eye. And where it says base colour, that's the colour that we're going to make it. So I want it black, so you can see on the right here, there we go, a sort of black colour. Now, obviously we want two eyes, okay, so we're going to need to duplicate it, all right? Now, the way to work this is rather than copy and pasting, if you've got it selected and press Shift and D, that will duplicate that object, Shift and D, and now it's stuck to my cursor. So I'm just going to pop it there for the moment. And it's obviously not quite in the right place. So you're going to use our normal move tools just to kind of put it roughly where we want it. Maybe about there, maybe a touch higher. And then obviously we do want it kind of going back into the head a little bit, like that. Okay, so let's have a look. And slightly wonky, but you know, that's okay. Snowman eyes are slightly wonky. Let's see if we can get it a little bit closer. Okay, cool. There we go, that will do. And then from there we can go and colour the rest of the things in. Okay, so I'm going to colour the hat. So I'm just going to use the hand tool just to get it more in the centre so I can see what I'm doing. So if we click to select it, okay, press plus on the new, and I'm going to call it hat, and I'm going to have it kind of red, I think. There we go. Same with the rim. Click new, Okay, call it rim, and we want to colour it red as well. Okay, go a different colour if you like. I'm just going to go for red. And then the nose, we want orange, same thing. Okay, nose, orange for a sort of carrot nose. There we go, lovely, good. So we're kind of building our snowman quite nicely here, okay? So what I'd like you to do is carry on building it, give him some buttons down the front, give him some arms, okay? Maybe give him a scarf if you're feeling brave, and see what you can create with that.